All right. Hello and welcome. My name is Daphne Adler and I'm one of the counselors here at Los Altos High School. And I am really excited to present our Study in Scotland session today, which is part of International University Month throughout the month of October. And we have a wonderful panel of reps with us today who I'm going to introduce to you, and then I'm going to turn it over to them to tell you a whole lot of exciting stuff about studying in Scotland and a bit about their institutions. And this session is being recorded, so students can watch it at any time on the College Career Center YouTube channel in the near future. So we have with us today Ali Clark from the University of Stirling. She's going to kick us off in a moment. Paul McBean at Dundee University, Amy Easton at University of Aberdeen, and Hilary Sementina at University of Edinburgh. I have been to Stirling, Edinburgh, and Aberdeen, and they're just like really kind of magical. So highly encourage students to consider, international study in general. And we've had a week of sessions that have already been running, and so students can catch up on those. But think about it in general, and Scotland, it really holds a special place in my heart. I was able to do a counselor tour there in 2019 and it was just incredible and an amazing place to spend 4 years and study and meet a ton of different people and experience a neat culture. So I'm going to turn it over to Ali. We're going to share a presentation with students, and we're here to answer questions.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, and welcome everyone to the Study in Scotland session. Hopefully we're going to drag her back to Scotland next year because we're hoping to resurrect the counsellor tour in 2022, so we'll wait and see if that happens. I'm joined here by my colleagues tonight, and we're going to tell you a little bit about studying in Scotland and then about the universities that we represent as well. So here's my weather map of Scotland. We actually have 19 higher education institutions in Scotland, but we're representing 4 tonight. So University of Aberdeen, University of Dundee, University of Edinburgh, and the university that I'm at, the University of Stirling. There's lots of different options in terms of styles of university, size of university, and we'll come on to that a little bit shortly. So why Scotland? Well, it has stunningly beautiful scenery. We are always vying with Canada for being the world's most beautiful country. I'm not quite sure whether it's us or Canada at the moment, but yeah, it tends to be back and forth every year. We've over 600 years of higher education history. So the University of St Andrews is actually the oldest university in Scotland, although they're not represented tonight, and it was founded in 1413. And the American and the French systems of higher education are actually based on the Scottish system, so we're obviously doing something right. But we do have a global academic research hub. There's a lot of research going on and a lot of research-led teaching that you'll find if you decide to come and study in Scotland. In terms of the types of research that's going on and the types of teaching that's going on, we've got a world-leading drug development hub, biomedical hub, and chemical engineering sectors as well. And so in terms of the drug discovery, it's everything from IVF to COVID to research into Alzheimer's and dementia as well. And we're very much a powerhouse of renewable energy, and we're very proud of our renewable energy. So as of 2019, 89%, over 89% of our nation's energy came from renewables. So the aim is to get that up to 100%. In terms of graduate employability, well, obviously that's something that's really important, and you want to make sure that you're going somewhere that offers a wide-ranging, education, but also guarantees you employability at the end of it as well. And we've got a lot of different sectors in terms of employability in Scotland. So we've got a financial services sector that tends to be based in our capital city, which is Edinburgh. Aberdeen is the oil and gas capital of Europe. So in the US, it's Houston. Over in Europe, it's actually Aberdeen, and I'm sure Amy will go into more detail about that. Creative industries, we've got creative industries right throughout Scotland, but one of the main hubs is Dundee, which is a UNESCO City of Design, and Paul will probably go into that. Life sciences research sector, we've talked about some of the life sciences and the biomedical research that's going on already in terms of drug development. And then we also have a new space hub, which is up in the north of Scotland, up in Caithness. So there's a lot going on for a small nation of 5 million people. So now more about our universities. Well, they're actually split into 3 different categories. We have the ancient universities, so a bit like St Andrews, they've been around for over 500 years. So 2 of them are actually represented today, Aberdeen and Edinburgh. And they offer a wide range of traditional programmes, everything from arts and humanities to sciences, medicine, and I'm sure Hilary and Amy will go into more detail about what Aberdeen and Edinburgh offer. And then we've got the traditional universities like Dundee and Stirling, which became universities in the 1960s, and again have a lot of the traditional programmes, but they have a lot of professionally accredited programmes as well. We can go into a bit more detail about our universities when we look at those slides. And then lastly, the modern universities. So they became universities in the 1990s, were traditionally polytechnics, and offer a lot of vocational programmes. So things with maybe work placements or things geared to a particular vocation like physiotherapy, nursing, occupational therapy, and some of the business programmes as well. So there's different styles of university. There's also different sizes of university. So the smallest university in Scotland is Abertay, which specialises in computer games design, and they have 4,500 students, whereas Edinburgh is our largest university with well over 30,000 students. So it depends what you are looking for in terms of a university experience. Equally, we do have some city universities if you want to experience a bigger city, and we have more rural universities or campus-based universities. And what I mean by that is all the teaching facilities, sports facilities, accommodation are all within the same campus, the same space. So we've got something for absolutely everyone in Scotland. Numerous institutions are ranked in the QS World Rankings Top 100. And within the top 200, 4 of our universities are represented. So it's pretty good going for, like I say, a small nation with 5 million people. You'll be very familiar with the programmes because it's a 4-year undergraduate degree, so very similar to what you're used to. And that allows for a lot more flexibility, and I'll come on to that in just a second. We'll also have a number of accredited professional and vocational degrees, and unlike the States, you wouldn't necessarily have to do a degree before you go into the likes of medicine, law, etc. You can do that straight from your high school. In terms of applying, hopefully some of you were at the session last week about UCAS and personal statements. But just as if you were applying to a university in England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, for Scotland, it's exactly the same. We all do the applications through the UCAS system. So you have 5 choices in your UCAS form, and you have to write a personal statement through that. So it's a very efficient system because it allows you to make multiple applications to the UK, not just having to do one at a time. We have 1-year master's degrees, so if you decide that you don't want to come and study with us for undergraduate, it might be worth considering coming to do your master's after you've graduated in the US. So I want to just show you a little bit about the flexibility. Now, in terms of some courses, professionally accredited courses like medicine, like dentistry, like physiotherapy, it can be quite a structured programme and the modules are already predetermined. However, if you're interested in studying something like arts and humanities, anything from English, politics, history, to some of the science-based programmes, things like zoology, animal biology, engineering, etc., then you have a bit more flexibility. So just want to sort of highlight that to you here and showcase that. So this student has applied for a history course and has been asked to take 2 other modules during their first year. So they've selected English and psychology. In their second year, they've kept English because they really enjoyed that, but they didn't like psychology so much, so they dropped that and picked up an archaeology module. They then decided just to do single honours, and they've graduated in the subject that they've already applied for. However, about 50% of our students who apply this way tend to come out with a degree in something that they didn't apply for in the first place because they've preferred one of the other subjects. So just as another example, this same student has taken a different route and they've enjoyed their English programme so much, they've decided to do a joint honours. So they've continued with that. But like I say, if they'd continued with history, English and psychology, they could have just as easily come out with a single honours in psychology, even though that wasn't what they applied for in the first place. So very, very flexible. Like I mentioned earlier, traditionally students in the UK don't have to study for a bachelor's degree before going on to do the likes of medicine, law, etc. It is highly competitive, and we do have a limited number of places for international students, but it's just another option for you. If you don't want to do a bachelor's degree before entering one of these professions, then you know that the option is to go directly from high school into those in the UK. Just some undergraduate deadlines to flag. So obviously I've talked about the UCAS system. We would accept international applications right up until the 30th of June. However, we do have deadlines that allow us to look at all applications. So the 26th of January, I would say, is for most subjects. And although I say the 30th of June for international applicants, if you're applying for the likes of medicine, dentistry, or veterinary medicine, it is very competitive. So the deadline is actually this Friday. If you do have any questions about that, then we're all happy to answer those, and you've still got 2 days to get your application in if you're just finalising that just now. Like I say, for everyone else, it's the 30th of June, and it's on average about $36 for the 5 choices in your UCAS form. It's slightly less for one choice. We just say you might as well make the most of it and apply up to 5 choices in your UCAS form. I'm now going to pass over to Amy, who's going to tell you a little bit about Aberdeen.
Thanks so much, Ali. So Ali mentioned earlier Aberdeen up on the map. So we are located in the northeast of Scotland. We're known as the energy capital of Europe. So if you're into oil and gas, and everything that comes along with that, whether it's business, law, engineering, we offer links to that. If you're not interested in energy, don't worry, we offer probably about 300 other options that aren't related to it. But Aberdeen is our 3rd largest city in Scotland, but everything in Scotland is pretty tiny. So when I say 3rd largest, we're just over 200,000 people in this city. So still pretty small, but has everything you would need from a big city. So the university itself, we like to think we're an ancient university with impact. We are one of those ancient universities that Ali mentioned. So we're over 525 years old. So we have been doing quite a lot over the last couple of years, especially when it comes around innovation, research. We have a lot of impact within the world, and that is the world, not just in Scotland. But the university itself is probably medium size, I would say, in population. So we're just over 14,000 students. And we are really mixed between who comes and attends the university. So it is probably about 34% international students that come and join us, with over 120 different nationalities represented each year. As I said, we have over 350 undergraduate degrees, so really something for everyone. And I always like to say we're in good company as students that come over, as we've had 5 Nobel Prize winners graduate from the university. And then I always include my favorite fact here, that we're also one of the top 10 most beautiful historic universities in the UK. So it is very much an old looking university. If you haven't seen, got that from some of the pictures so far. We're kind of main campus is based in what's known as Old Aberdeen, and that's our King's College campus. And it is very much, as an American that's come over, I'm also originally from California. It is very much old buildings, cobbled streets, signs of what historic importance has happened there. So it's very, very ancient part of Scotland. But because we are a city, we are only about a 20-minute walk from our main city centre, where you'll find all the things like bus stations, train stations, major shopping malls, things like that. It's all right there for you. But as Ellie said, in Scotland, we have our 4-year undergraduate degrees. So we separate ourselves into 12 schools. So you'll see there we've got business, divinity, history, philosophy, education, languages, literature, music, visual culture, law, social sciences, biological sciences, our medical sciences, psychology, engineering, geosciences, and our natural and computing sciences. So those are the overarching subjects that we offer. And then we have a lot more specialism within that makes up our 350 different undergraduate degrees. Now, I'll just finish up there as a little taster for Aberdeen. My name was Amy Easton. You can always reach out to me with any questions that you have, anything you want to know. You can also get in touch with Daphne, but do feel free to get in touch, as I'm always more than happy to help. Overall, though, I would say we're test optional. So we normally would ask for a minimum 3.0, and then we usually look at SATs and ACTs. If you're doing something very specific like a science or engineering degree, we would ask for APs as well, but we do understand it's been a very unusual time. So we are going test optional for 2022. That might not last until 2023. So if you're not sure, always get in touch. We're on UCAS, so if you are doing those 5 options that Ali said, it's worth spending that, what is usually about $36. Send 5 applications out. But if you know that only Aberdeen is your option, you do have Common App as an option to apply. I also just want to shout out our podcast, which is really, really useful to find out more information about what it's like to be a student there. You hear from current students, you hear from staff, and give you a real insight into Aberdeen. And that's just called Ask Aberdeen. And you can find that on any of our social media channels. And you can also find that podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. So with that nice quick overview, I'll pass you on.
Hi guys, thanks for having us. I'm Paul McBean. I'm the Senior International Officer here at the University of Dundee, and I've just got a couple of slides really to tell you a little bit about Dundee and the university itself. So like Amy has mentioned just there, Dundee is also a kind of medium-sized city by Scottish standards, though albeit in the world we're not a huge place. So Dundee is the 4th largest city in Scotland with a population of around 150,000 people. Dundee itself, though, is very student friendly. So I just recently joined the university about 10 months ago working here, and I found out that 1 in 7 people in the city are actually full-time students between the University of Dundee and Abertay that Ali mentioned earlier. So Dundee is a UNESCO City of Design. So for hundreds of years, Dundee has been a place where design across the arts, science, engineering has really been something that is very much passion of the city, but also a very important part of the city's development. Dundee today is a modern city with everything you would expect. We have great shopping, nightlife, cafes, restaurants, and we also have a great number of museums and galleries. So just 10 minutes from the university, there is the Victoria and Albert Museum, which the main one is in London, and the second campus they have is actually in Dundee, and it's just about 5-10 minutes from campus. Now, what is great about coming and studying in Scotland and studying in Dundee is that many of these museums and galleries are free, not only to students, but to most of the public. So it does mean that it gives you that opportunity to really immerse yourself in Scottish culture and learn a wee bit about more, where you're studying, maybe a different particular hobby or passion you have. Ali, can I have the next slide, please? So as I mentioned, I've got a couple of slides really just telling you a wee bit about Dundee. So Dundee, as we mentioned, was founded in 1967, though has links dating back to 1881 when it was founded as a university college. So St Andrews, the university, which is about 20 minutes from us, we were actually created as a college to broaden the teaching and learning opportunities for people locally. Dundee, since 1967, has been a fully independent university. That has meant that we have been able to continue with the ethos that helped us, with our foundation, and also broaden that and, increase more subject areas, more students, and really make the university about changing the world for good and also broadening education access for people, not only locally, but across the globe. The university today is a top 250 university in the Times Higher Education. Obviously, we have 4-year degrees, as have been mentioned, so we have lots of study options that are very flexible. At Dundee, we have over 200 different undergraduate degrees. We are a medium-sized school in UK standards, so about 15,000 students. The most recent data I have has us about 18% of our student body come from outside the UK, though we're hoping that will be near 20% in the next couple of months. Dundee has a very active student societies, clubs, and a very good award-winning students' union. Many students, not only in Dundee, but across the country, know about the university and its union. With 230 student clubs and societies really offer, something for everybody, whether that's, sports, maybe it's a cultural connection you're wanting, maybe a religious group you want to be part of, or maybe a new hobby you want. You're in Scotland, so it might be the Whisky Society, it may be curling. Obviously, you guys are based in California, so the curling may not be the most popular one. Obviously, at Dundee, we are FAFSA approved, and we also have a great range of scholarships to help students come and study with us. Our scholarships have just been announced, and where students can apply for between £5,000 and £6,000 off each year of their studies. As well as UCAS, which many people have already talked about over the last few weeks, I'm sure for you, we are also on Common App. As I mentioned earlier, Dundee is the only UNESCO City of Design in Scotland. So it's a really, huge part of our culture and a huge part of our identity. Next slide, please. Now, here we have just a list of our academic schools. And I thought I would, give you the opportunity there to scan, and that will take you to our website. So in Dundee, as I mentioned, we have quite a comprehensive suite of programs. We offer everything from business to health sciences, from life sciences to art and design. Some of the programs that have been especially popular with our US students in recent years have come from all of these different disciplines. So when you come to study in Dundee, you don't need to worry about being in a class that is full of students from where you're coming from if you're wanting that different experience. Some of the programs, as I mentioned, are particularly popular, include our forensic anthropology, where you get the opportunity to practice dissections and learn all about the human anatomy and how to, use that kind of the different skills and techniques in research. It's, as somebody who's done history, this is the most stressful course I've had to learn about myself. We also have a great art school, which is ranked #1 in Scotland. So if you're looking maybe for animation, product design, or textile design, really immersing yourself in that culture that we've spoken about at Dundee, the art school is a great fit. Another area that's really interesting is our life sciences. So Dundee actually has one of the most prolific research outputs of any university in Europe for life science. So you can come to Scotland, come to Dundee, and really be at the heart of forward-thinking research, working with academics who are experts in their field. If you want to find out more about any of the programs at Dundee or any of the information about the university, about living in the city, please do get in touch. I've realised I've not put my email on this, but Daphna does have my email and she will be able to put you in touch with me. Thanks very much.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Hilary Sementina, and I'm representative for the University of Edinburgh, and I am actually based in California. So Edinburgh is considered Scotland's festival city. In fact, it might even be known as Europe's festival city. We have about 12 festivals throughout the year. The most famous that you may have heard of is the Fringe Festival in the month of August, where the city's population basically triples. Edinburgh is the capital city of Scotland, but although it's the capital, it's relatively small with about 500,000 people. For comparison, London, which is the capital of England, has roughly 8 million people. So it's much more manageable in size. It has a very neighborhoodly feel. You can walk, take the bus, or ride your bike wherever you need to go. We don't have a metro or subway system. And I'll say people in Edinburgh are very friendly as well. They'll hear and this is in Scotland in general, people will hear your accent, want to know who you are, where you're from, and what brought you to the country. So next slide, please. So the University of Edinburgh, as you can see here, that's the castle in the center. We do have a castle in Edinburgh, and as do a lot of other locations. If you scan this QR code here, it will take you to a landing page that has lots of information and guidance for North American undergraduate applicants. And you can get in touch with the university at the email address here, futurestudents@ed.ac.uk. Alternatively, get in touch with Daphna and she can give our contact details. So Edinburgh University, as mentioned, is one of Scotland's ancient universities. We were founded in 1583, and we're currently ranked 16th in the world. We are a large research-based institution. Over 85% of our academic staff are actively involved in research. This is across multiple subject areas, and the research really guides and shapes both our undergraduate and our master's level teaching. This photo here is of Old College. This is one of our main university buildings where the law school is, and a lot of our administrative offices as well. I will mention that there are 4 universities in Edinburgh, but the University of Edinburgh is the largest, and we are located right in the heart of the city. So as Scotland and Edinburgh's largest university, we have about 45,000 students from 160 different countries. So it's a very multicultural, diverse institution. You will, however, probably hear a familiar accent or two, as we are the #1 destination in the UK for US and Canadian students. But about 41% of our student population comes from outside of the United Kingdom. And to compare that to US universities who have large international populations, they might have maybe 20% international students. So you can see you'll really come across a large mix of people. And we like to say that the university, we're not a campus-based institution. Instead, the whole city of Edinburgh is our campus. We have 3 locations. This one here in the image is of our central area. This will be where most of our arts, humanities, and social sciences are. We have the College of Science and Engineering, which is in the south of the city. It's just about a 20-minute bus ride away. And for students who are doing medicine or veterinary medicine, we have areas on the outskirts of the city that are located at the city's main hospital, and where in the countryside for the veterinary students where our large animals are based. But again, no matter where your classes are, it's easy to get around. And even though we are a metropolitan city, we have lots of green space. You can see in this photo, that's called the Meadows. It's kind of like our very mini version of Central Park in New York. And a lot of our student societies and teams will meet here to practice on warm, sunny days. It's full of people, students and people in the city having barbecues. And further to the east, we have our Holyrood Park, which is owned by the Queen, and there's actually an extinct volcano there that you can climb up. It's actually right behind our dorms as well. So there's lots of green space in Edinburgh, so you don't have to worry about feeling claustrophobic or that you're just in a concrete jungle. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we have 3 sort of colleges: arts, humanities, and social sciences. This is where you'll find subjects such as English, literature, history, law, business, our languages, art, architecture, etc. We have the College of Science and Engineering. This is where you'll find computer science, or informatics, as we would call it, engineering, physics, biological sciences, amongst more. And then the smallest of the three is medicine and veterinary medicine, where medical and vet students study. But as a large university, you'd expect to have many degree programs to choose from. We have 390 undergraduate degrees, so hopefully there's something that you're interested in. And one thing to highlight is that at Edinburgh and for all the other Scottish universities, your degree you receive is internationally recognized. So graduating with a bachelor's degree from the University of Edinburgh or other Scottish institutions is seen as equivalent as doing an undergraduate bachelor degree in the United States. So you don't have to worry about getting your qualification in Scotland and then going back to the US to work. It will be recognized. Obviously, if you're doing a professional qualification like medicine or veterinary medicine or law, you may have to do some conversion courses when you return back home, but you won't have to start all over again. So that's really one thing to keep in mind, because I know it is a big concern that students have when they're considering going overseas to study. And I believe that's the last of my slides. Yep, great. So I'll pass it on to the University of Stirling.
Thanks, Hilary. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was quite glad to hear that the volcano is extinct, seeing as it's in the vicinity of the University of Edinburgh. But yeah, so I'm rounding things off by talking about Stirling and the University of Stirling as well. So Stirling is one of the smallest cities in Scotland, but it has amazing transport links. So it's very, very close to Glasgow. It's about 25 minutes on a train to Glasgow and about 40 minutes to Edinburgh. It's also known as the gateway to the Highlands. So if you're interested in looking for the Loch Ness Monster, or you like hill walking or want to get out into the beautiful countryside, it's easily accessible for both. This in the picture here is the Wallace Monument. For those of you that have seen the film Braveheart, obviously Braveheart was played by Mel Gibson in the film, who's an Australian, but he was playing a national Scottish hero, and William Wallace, and this is the tower that commemorates him. So some universities will use a blimp for their open days so that you know where their campus is. We just direct people to follow the Wallace Monument. In the city itself, Hilary's obviously talked about Edinburgh being Scotland's capital city, but the ancient capital of Scotland was actually Stirling. It's got a lot of cafes and restaurants, and it's very much a student city as well. So a lot of the population is made up of students. This is our beautiful campus. We've got a 330 acre Parkland campus. It's a purpose-built campus university, and it's probably the most Scottish university that you can get, because we have our own very own loch, which is the Scottish word for a lake, in the middle of the campus, as well as a 9-hole golf course and our very own castle on campus. So everything that you could expect, and I'll come onto the facilities a little bit later on, but everything is within easy reach. All the teaching facilities, sports facilities, library, etc., are all within easy reach. So a little bit about the university. It's a medium-sized university with 14,000 students, and we do have quite a big North American population as well. We're known as Scotland's University for Sporting Excellence, and we've just invested heavily into our sports facilities. So we've got performance sport, and we focus on 8 different sports in terms of our scholarship programme. But we do have elite athletes for others. And we're very proud of the fact that one of our recent graduates, Duncan Scott, actually came back from the Tokyo Olympics with 4 Olympic medals for swimming. So we have sports at all stages, don't worry, because if you're not sporty like me, there is sport for beginners as well. Last year, we were also voted UK Sports University of the Year. Another accolade we're really proud of is our National Student Survey ranking. So we're in the top 20 in the UK, and that's voted for by students. And the students vote for the learning, the teaching, and their overall student satisfaction rate and their student experience and we're consistently in the top 20 in the UK, which is a fantastic achievement. In terms of our faculty, so obviously Amy's talked about schools and Hilary's talked about colleges. We have faculty, so we have 5 faculties at Stirling, and I talked about the flexibility of the Scottish programme earlier on, and Stirling is actually ultra flexible, so you can actually select courses cross faculty. So if you're interested in something like sport, but you're also interested in journalism and you want to pick up biology, you are able to at Stirling. So we've got arts and humanities. Things we specialise in there are film and media, journalism, history as well, health sciences and sport. We've got a new subject with paramedic science, which seems to be really popular, and natural sciences, marine biology, environmental sciences and geography. And a lot of our marine biologists, as well as going on field trips outside Stirling and across Scotland, a lot of their work is done in and around the beautiful Parkland campus that we've got as well. Social sciences, we're consistently ranked one of the top in the UK for criminology, as well as various education courses. And then last, but by no means least, is our management school, and we've got pretty much every specialism that you could think of for a management or business school. So to sum up just about the university, it's test optional. We're test optional last year, we're test optional for 2022. I don't know if that will change, but certainly it looks like for the foreseeable we will be test optional. A little bit like the others, we're on UCAS, so obviously if you're interested in 5 universities in the UK after today, then probably wise to use that. But we do have the Common App as well, and we also have a direct application at Stirling. We're FAFSA approved. If you want to find out more, then you can scan our QR code there. But the last thing that I want to say about Stirling is it's very much a community feel about it. We've got an extensive student village with over 2,000 rooms, and we've got everything that you could possibly need on campus, from a pharmacy, a medical practice, a dental practice, various cafes and eateries, supermarkets, and we even have our own movie theatre. So back to the film Braveheart, back in the 90s, when Mel Gibson was in that, because Stirling is very much William Wallace country, rather than Hollywood, the world premiere of the film Braveheart was actually held in Stirling's movie theatre on campus. So there's a fun fact for you. I'm now going to pass back to Paul.
Hi there, thanks very much. It was great to learn something new doing these presentations. I didn't know that about the film premiere. So obviously one of the big concerns, or one of the most important things to take into consideration, is how do you fund your studies? What are the kind of costs of studying? So when you come to look at studying in Scotland, you'll see that each university has a range of fees. So there'll be some institutions that'll be maybe better for your budget. What the great thing is, though, that all the universities in Scotland offer high quality education, and in many cases quite affordable and often comparable with maybe other US schools and international schools that you've been looking at. Typically fees start from around $19,000, and the cost of living there we have around $16,000. Now that's a kind of estimate. You might in some instances spend less, some instances you may spend more. What you'll typically see, though, for a city experience in Scotland, that the cost of living is usually comparable with, or favourable certainly with other larger UK cities and other major cities across Europe. So it does give you that opportunity for a high quality, safe life with nothing too expensive, hopefully, for you. You can as well use different types of loans. So obviously FAFSA we've mentioned. There is other types of US funding that students can use to come and help them with their costs, of their studies. What we would always recommend is that you get in touch with the universities that you're interested in, and you can ask those questions about your funding, about scholarships, and see what is available and what information we can provide you with. Obviously, scholarships and bursaries are available for international students, and they will vary across institutions. The one thing that's really important to do is ask those questions, ask about the funding, ask, do I need to apply? Am I automatically considered? You would be surprised how few times I am actually asked about the scholarships and I have to raise it with our students. So don't be afraid to ask. If you don't know who to ask, just send an email. Someone will be able to give you that information or put you in touch with those. I know from previous experience that all of us on the call have, been able to direct you in, the way of another person at another university, and will continue to do so. So if you're not sure about something, reach out to us. We can give you the information about Scotland and our own institutions. So Scotland itself, why do you want to come to Scotland? Obviously, we are all very proud of Scotland and we think it's a great place to study and live. Scotland has hundreds of festivals annually. There really is something for everybody, whether that is book festivals, music, comedy, food, art and design. There really is something for everybody when it comes to the festivals in Scotland. Obviously, Hilary mentioned there about the world's largest arts gathering, the Edinburgh Festival. Now, as someone who grew up very close to Edinburgh, I would highly recommend, even if you don't study in Edinburgh, getting to experience that. It really is somewhere where you get to meet people from all around the world and really throw yourself into different experiences, and whether that's comedy, music, art, literature, it really does give you that chance to broaden your kind of cultural horizons. A huge variety of art galleries and museums, as I mentioned, in Scotland, and a huge number of these are also free or very low cost of entry. So it is a great opportunity just to kind of get that experience, showcase, your new home to people when they come and visit and say, we can go to these galleries and museums. It just gives you that extra reason to do Scotland. We also do have huge numbers of touring theatre productions, with domestic dramas, musicals, all different types of events there. What's been great to see since the, kind of easing of some of the COVID restrictions is the kind of popularity of musicals and theatre is continued to grow, and people are going back to the theatres and getting that experience. We also have huge, iconic live music venues. So as I mentioned, people are now going back to these. So in the next few weeks, I get to go to my first gig since lockdowns. So I'm very excited. Also, Scotland offers an affordable place to live and socialise. One of the things that we all really like about Scotland is that you don't need to be earning thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month to have a comfortable way of living and be able to experience, whether it's festivals, whether it's art galleries, whether it's going out and traveling across the country. So there really is something for everybody, and it's hopefully not going to be too expensive when you're a student. And yeah, thank you for listening. It's been great to have this opportunity, and we hope to see you soon in California.
All right, thank you, Paul. Quick fun fact, if you look at my little Zoom picture, this was me next to the Sterling squirrel mascot when I was there in 2019. Had a lot of fun there. But I'm back. So for students watching this, I hope that this has been really fun and informational for you. I always love kind of refreshing about Scotland and the campuses that I got to visit. And I hope that some of the things you've taken away here are Scottish universities really, really want American students, and they're here to help you. This process for really for international schools in general is very, very personalized compared to American universities. Like you can see, you've got an actual human at each of these universities that is dedicated to international students, and often it's like American regional even. So there really is someone to talk to. They're happy to email with you. Sometimes they can do calls or Zooms, things like that, because they really want students and their families to understand what this whole thing's about, right? This is like really far away, especially from the West Coast, and they want families to feel comfortable sending their students to another country and to know like who's there to support their student. And so these are like your first point of contact. And as everyone said, I'm happy to put you in touch with them directly. You can also find a lot of information on the school websites. But it really is so personal, and they want you to feel like you're gonna go to a second home there. Each campus is so unique and offers so much in each of these cities. And I always tell students, think about, when you go abroad, your new city and region is an extension of your classroom. So you're not there just to go to university and to learn. I mean, you're there for that, but you're also there to immerse yourself in a new culture and travel and meet people from all over the place. And all of those experiences really make your university experience so much richer and different. So it's a really neat thing to kind of go a direction that's a bit different than most of your peers. And it's life-changing. Like I studied abroad for a year in Paris in college because I was a French major. And I often think like, who would I be today without that experience? It really does change you and expose you to so many different things. So I can't say enough about international study. And as I said, Scotland really has a special place in my heart. So I really hope students will consider Scotland as a great option. Another thing that you heard is flexibility. SAT and ACT and kind of test scores in general used to be like a really, really firm thing for UK schools because it's a standardized measure, and our GPA and grading system is so different here. So it helps universities understand students in a semi-equal way. And with everything over the past couple of years, universities all over the world are understanding like American students really haven't had an opportunity to test the way that they had prior to the pandemic. And so it's really lovely to see that universities are going test optional, at least for this year, and take advantage of that. It's a great opportunity. If like testing is maybe not your strength, then it's okay to apply without the scores. And then we'll see what happens in the future. But point being, they're able to be flexible right now because they really, really want American students to come. Any other comments or anything that anyone else wants to share before we end today?
I think I would just like to share that if anyone is interested in Scotland, it's really worth checking out what everyone's doing virtually in terms of open days and like virtual campus tours. And like, yeah, there's a lot of virtual opportunities to see universities showcased and speak to current students and speak to academics and speak to staff like me or admissions. And it can give you a really, really good sense of what that university is and what they're all about and how they interact with you as an applicant, as an indicator of how they would act with you as a student. So that's a really good option just now, especially with travel being not as easy as it used to be, to have a look and check out all our different virtual things that are going on. And I always think like just emailing or signing up to get all the emails is also really helpful, because you might not be interested in everything we send, but there could be little emails that come through and you're like, oh, that's amazing. I definitely want to go to that event that you may not have seen if you hadn't been kind of signed up for all the emails we send out.
Yeah, really good point, Amy. Thank you. Yep. Anyone want to add any?
I will say one thing that actually none of us mentioned is that in the UK, so in Scotland and the rest of the UK, international students can, after graduating, they can apply for the graduate route visa, which allows you to stay in the UK and work for up to 2 years after graduating. So I think that's a great opportunity for students, especially, you don't have to do it, but the option is there, and there's no minimum salary that you have to make or certain types of job. It applies to all salaries, all types of jobs. You can be looking for work. You don't have to have you don't need to have a job in place. So this is also a great thing to think about when you're considering your options. I know it might sound like a long time away thinking about your career after graduating, but at least in the UK and Scotland, there is that opportunity to stay if you want to stay and start your career in the UK before returning home.
That's awesome. Thanks for mentioning that, Hillary. And actually, we're going to have an employability workshop in the last week of October, because there's a lot of questions that we get about that. Like, does my degree transfer? Where can I work, et cetera. So we're going to have a workshop solely focused on that topic. And then tomorrow we have a workshop about affordability. A couple of people mentioned that it's quite affordable, and it's actually like a fraction of a US education a lot of the time, especially if you're looking at a private university or an out-of-state public where you're paying out-of-state tuition. It's like staggering what we pay here. And that's kind of, for Americans, it's just sort of the default, and we're sort of used to that idea of college costs a fortune. And it's one of the really kind of amazing and refreshing things about studying internationally. It is most of the time way, way, way cheaper, and cost of living is cheaper and very student friendly. A lot of like student discounts and one thing, for example, is that a lot of universities don't have meal plans the way that American universities have them, and you cook for yourselves. And that sounds a little scary at the beginning, but you get used to that, and it saves you a lot of money. And we actually had a workshop last week about student life, and we talked a lot about those things. So definitely recommend checking out the recording for that. We also had one about UCAS that students can check out. So throughout this whole month, we've got workshops on like pretty much everything I could think of to cover all these topics. I hope that this workshop will be really helpful for students looking at Scotland to kind of get a little bit of the flavor of the different options and the like just warm and wonderful character of Scottish people and universities, and it's just a really amazing country. So, all right. Any last quick comments? Nope. All right. We will wrap it up for today. And thanks to all of you for being with us. And we'll see some of you in other sessions throughout this month. And we thank you again for participating. Have a great day.
Bye.